Are you feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges? Do you struggle to find inner peace and strength in the face of adversity? In this video, we'll explore the ancient wisdom of Buddhism and discover how its teachings can help you navigate through life's toughest moments. Lesson 1. Acceptance of suffering. Acceptance does not mean resignation or passivity. Instead, it means acknowledging the reality of our circumstances without denial or resistance. When we accept suffering, we open the door to understanding and transformation. This acceptance is the first step towards alleviating our distress because it allows us to face our challenges with clarity and courage. In practical terms, acceptance involves mindfulness and presence. By staying present with our suffering, we can observe it without judgment. This mindfulness helps us to see the transient nature of our pain and prevents us from becoming overwhelmed by it. For example, if we experience physical pain, instead of resisting it, we can observe the sensations in our body, noticing how they change from moment to moment. This awareness can reduce the intensity of our suffering and bring a sense of peace. Acceptance can be a powerful tool in dealing with emotional suffering. When we experience difficult emotions such as anger, sadness, or fear, our natural tendency is to push them away or distract ourselves. However, by accepting these emotions and allowing ourselves to feel them fully, we can begin to understand their roots and address them more effectively. This process requires self-compassion and patience as we learn to sit with our discomfort and explore its deeper layers. Acceptance also extends to accepting the impermanence of life. Everything in life is subject to change, including our suffering. By recognizing this impermanence, we can cultivate a sense of detachment and flexibility, which helps us navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease. This understanding can be particularly liberating, as it reminds us that no matter how intense our suffering may be, it will eventually pass. Lesson 2. Understanding the cause of suffering. The second lesson in the Buddhist approach to facing challenges is understanding the cause of suffering. The Buddha identified ignorance, attachment, and aversion as the primary causes of suffering. These mental states distort our perception of reality and lead to unhealthy patterns of thought and behavior. Ignorance refers to our fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of reality. We often perceive ourselves as separate and independent entities, which leads to a sense of isolation and fear. This ignorance gives rise to attachment and aversion. Attachment is the desire to cling to pleasurable experiences and possessions, while aversion is the desire to avoid unpleasant experiences. Both attachment and aversion create a cycle of craving and dissatisfaction, which perpetuates our suffering. To understand the cause of suffering, we need to cultivate awareness and insight. This involves examining our thoughts, emotions, and actions with a critical eye and questioning the underlying assumptions that drive them. Meditation is a powerful tool for developing this awareness. By sitting in stillness and observing our mind, we can begin to see the patterns of attachment and aversion that fuel our suffering. For example, if we experience anxiety about the future, we can explore the thoughts and beliefs that underlie this anxiety. We might discover that we are clinging to the idea of control and certainty, which creates a sense of fear when faced with the unknown. By understanding this attachment, we can begin to let go of our need for control and embrace the present moment with greater equanimity. Similarly, if we experience anger towards someone who has wronged us, we can examine the aversion that fuels this anger. We might find that we are holding onto a rigid sense of justice and righteousness, which prevents us from seeing the situation with compassion and understanding. By recognizing this aversion, we can soften our heart and open ourselves to forgiveness. Understanding the cause of suffering also involves recognizing the interconnectedness of all things. Our thoughts, emotions, and actions are influenced by countless factors, including our upbringing, culture, and environment. By seeing this interconnectedness, we can develop a sense of humility and compassion for ourselves and others. We realize that our suffering is not entirely our fault, nor is it entirely within our control. This understanding helps us to cultivate a sense of acceptance and forgiveness, both for ourselves and for others. Lesson 3. The path to the end of suffering. The third lesson in the Buddhist approach to facing challenges is the path to the end of suffering. The Buddha taught that there is a way to transcend suffering and achieve liberation, known as the Noble Eightfold Path. This path is a comprehensive guide to ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom, which leads to the cessation of suffering and the attainment of enlightenment. The Noble Eightfold Path consists of 8 interconnected practices. Right view. Understanding the nature of reality and the truth of the Four Noble Truths. Right intention. Cultivating intentions of renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness. Right speech. Speaking truthfully, kindly, and beneficially. Right action. Acting ethically and compassionately. Right livelihood. Engaging in work that is ethical and does not cause harm. Right effort. Cultivating positive states of mind and overcoming negative states. Right mindfulness. Developing awareness of the present moment. Right concentration. Cultivating deep states of meditative absorption. By following this path, we can transform our thoughts, speech, and actions and cultivate a mind that is free from suffering. Each aspect of the path supports and reinforces the others, creating a holistic approach to personal and spiritual development. For example, by cultivating right view, we develop a deeper understanding of the nature of suffering and its causes. This understanding informs our intentions and actions, helping us to act in ways that reduce suffering for ourselves and others. Similarly, by practicing right mindfulness, we develop greater awareness of our thoughts and emotions, which helps us to overcome negative states of mind and cultivate positive ones. The path to the end of suffering is not a quick fix or a one-time solution. It requires consistent effort and dedication. However, the rewards are profound. As we progress along the path, we begin to experience greater peace, clarity, and joy. We develop a sense of inner freedom that is not dependent on external circumstances. This freedom allows us to face challenges with greater resilience and wisdom, transforming our suffering into opportunities for growth and awakening. Lesson 4. Finding meaning in suffering. The fourth lesson in the Buddhist approach to facing challenges is finding meaning in suffering. While suffering is an inevitable part of life, it can also be a source of profound insight and growth. By finding meaning in our suffering, we can transform it into a catalyst for personal and spiritual development. One way to find meaning in suffering is to view it as an opportunity for self-discovery. When we face challenges, we are forced to confront our vulnerabilities and limitations. This process can be painful, but it also reveals important truths about ourselves and our lives. By embracing these truths, we can gain a deeper understanding of our strengths and weaknesses and develop greater self-awareness and self-compassion. For example, if we experience the loss of a loved one, we might feel intense grief and sadness. This suffering can prompt us to reflect on the nature of life and death, and to explore our own beliefs and values. Through this reflection, we might discover a greater appreciation for the preciousness of life and a renewed commitment to living with purpose and intention. Another way to find meaning in suffering is to use it as a motivation for positive change. Suffering can highlight areas of our life that are out of balance or in need of improvement. By addressing these areas, we can create a more fulfilling and harmonious life. For example, if we experience burnout at work, we might recognize the need to prioritize self-care and establish healthier boundaries. By making these changes, we can create a more sustainable and satisfying way of living. Suffering can also be a source of empathy and compassion. When we experience pain and hardship, we gain a deeper understanding of the suffering of others. This understanding can inspire us to reach out and support those who are struggling. By helping others, we not only alleviate their suffering, but also cultivate a sense of connection and purpose in our own lives. This act of compassion can transform our suffering into a source of strength and resilience. Finding meaning in suffering involves recognizing its impermanent nature. No matter how intense our pain may be, it will eventually pass. This understanding can help us to maintain a sense of hope and perspective, even in the midst of difficult times. By reminding ourselves of the transient nature of suffering, we can cultivate patience and endurance, knowing that brighter days are ahead. By embracing our challenges and using them as a catalyst for growth, we can transform our suffering into a source of strength and resilience. This process helps us to find purpose and fulfillment, even in the face of adversity. Lesson 5. Compassion. Compassion begins with self-compassion. Before we can extend kindness and understanding to others, we must first cultivate these qualities within ourselves. This involves treating ourselves with the same care and concern that we would offer to a dear friend. When we face challenges, it is important to acknowledge our pain and respond with gentleness and support. Self-compassion helps us to build resilience and inner strength, allowing us to navigate difficulties with greater ease. To cultivate self-compassion, we can practice mindfulness and self-awareness. By paying attention to our thoughts and emotions, we can recognize when we are being self-critical or harsh. In these moments, we can consciously choose to respond with kindness and understanding. This might involve offering ourselves words of encouragement, taking a break to rest, or seeking support from loved ones. Over time, these practices help to build a foundation of self-compassion that supports us through life's challenges. Once we have cultivated self-compassion, we can extend this compassion to others. This involves recognizing the shared experience of suffering and responding with empathy and kindness. When we see others in pain, we can offer our support and presence, even if we cannot solve their problems. Sometimes, simply being there and listening with an open heart can make a profound difference. Compassion also involves taking action to alleviate the suffering of others. This might include volunteering our time, offering a helping hand, or advocating for social justice. By engaging in acts of compassion, we contribute to the well-being of our community and create a ripple effect of kindness and support. These actions not only benefit others, but also bring a sense of fulfillment and purpose to our own lives. We can also cultivate a compassionate mindset. This involves seeing the world through the lens of compassion, recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings, and striving to act with kindness in every situation. A compassionate mindset helps us to respond to challenges with grace and understanding, rather than anger or resentment. It also fosters a sense of connection and belonging, which can be a powerful source of support during difficult times. By cultivating a compassionate mindset, we can transform our suffering into a source of strength and resilience, and contribute to the well-being of our community. Compassion helps us to navigate life's challenges with greater ease and brings a sense of fulfillment and purpose to our lives. Lesson 6. Non-attachment. Attachment is a natural human tendency. We often cling to people, possessions, experiences, and even our own identities. We believe that these things will bring us happiness and security. However, the reality is that everything in life is impermanent. People come and go, possessions can be lost or damaged, experiences are fleeting, and our identities are constantly changing. When we cling to these impermanent things, we set ourselves up for disappointment and suffering. Non-attachment does not mean that we should not care about or enjoy the things in our lives. Rather, it means that we should appreciate them without becoming dependent on them for our happiness. This involves recognizing the transient nature of all things and letting go of our need to control or possess them. By doing so, we can find a deeper sense of peace and contentment within ourselves. One way to practice non-attachment is through mindfulness. By staying present and observing our thoughts and emotions, we can become aware of our attachments and the ways in which they cause us suffering. For example, if we notice that we are becoming overly attached to a particular outcome, we can remind ourselves of the impermanent nature of all things and practice letting go. This might involve releasing our expectations and accepting whatever comes with an open heart. Another way to practice non-attachment is through meditation. Meditation helps us to cultivate a sense of inner stillness and equanimity, which allows us to observe our attachments without becoming entangled in them. Through regular meditation practice, we can develop the ability to let go of our clinging and find a deeper sense of peace and freedom. Non-attachment also involves letting go of our need for validation and approval from others. We often seek validation from external sources, such as our achievements, relationships, or social status. However, true validation comes from within. By recognizing our inherent worth and cultivating self-compassion, we can let go of our need for external approval and find a sense of inner confidence and security. By practicing mindfulness and meditation, we can cultivate a sense of inner stillness and equanimity, which allows us to observe our attachments and let go of them. Non-attachment helps us to reduce suffering and achieve inner freedom, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with greater ease. Lesson 7. Equanimity. Equanimity involves maintaining a sense of detachment and perspective. When we are faced with difficulties, it is easy to become overwhelmed by our emotions and lose sight of the bigger picture. Equanimity helps us to stay grounded and centered, even in the midst of turmoil. This does not mean that we are indifferent or detached from our experiences. Rather, it means that we are able to maintain a sense of balance and perspective, allowing us to respond to challenges with greater resilience and wisdom. One way to cultivate equanimity is through mindfulness and meditation. By practicing mindfulness, we can develop the ability to observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them. This helps us to maintain a sense of inner calm and clarity, even in the face of difficult situations. Meditation also helps to cultivate a sense of inner stillness and equanimity, allowing us to respond to challenges with greater ease and grace. Equanimity also involves cultivating a sense of acceptance and letting go of our need for control. Life is inherently unpredictable and full of uncertainties. By accepting this reality and letting go of our need to control every aspect of our lives, we can cultivate a sense of inner peace and stability. This does not mean that we should be passive or complacent. Rather, it means that we should approach life with an open heart and a flexible mind, allowing us to adapt to whatever comes our way. In addition to mindfulness and meditation, equanimity can also be cultivated through the practice of compassion. By developing a sense of empathy and understanding for ourselves and others, we can respond to challenges with greater kindness and patience. Compassion helps us to maintain a sense of connection and support, even in the face of difficult times. By practicing mindfulness, meditation, and compassion, we can cultivate a sense of detachment and perspective, allowing us to respond to challenges with greater resilience and wisdom. Equanimity helps us to navigate life's challenges with greater ease and brings a sense of inner peace and fulfillment to our lives. Overall, the power of Buddhism when facing challenges lies in its teachings on acceptance, understanding, the path to the end of suffering, finding meaning in suffering, compassion, non-attachment, and equanimity. By embracing these teachings and incorporating them into our lives, we can transform our relationship with suffering and find a path to inner peace and liberation. These lessons provide a comprehensive guide to navigating life's challenges with wisdom and grace, helping us to cultivate a sense of resilience, compassion, and inner freedom.